What is going on, and as you can see in front of me, I have the iPhone 3G. So kind of unusual, and this video is like a look back on the second generation of an iPhone ever released. So you can see that it looks very old on this table. So from the back side you can see it's all scratched up and dusty and doesn't look good. I mean, for a phone which is like 11 years old, it's still kind of decent, but it's not that good. So let me tell you, I bought it for just a couple of dollars. I also made some sample photos with the camera and made the same with an iPhone 11 Pro. So let me just compare it later in the video. So as you know, this is the second generation of an iPhone. Even though it has the name 3 in it, it's the second generation. The first one was 2G and this is the 3G, which stands for the connectivity, and it's not the number of the generation. So a quick specs recap, even though I'm not sure if there is anything to recap at all. Well, this iPhone had the RAM of 128 megabytes, which apparently is not much. And out of the box, it was running iOS 2, which at the time was called iPhone OS 2, and it was discontinued at iOS 4.2.1, which is actually the latest version of iOS that this iPhone is able to support. By the way, if you are new on this channel, I want to say that if you don't want to miss some other videos where I talk about iPhones, the newer models of course, then you should subscribe, you should click the subscribe button, and let's continue with this video. When it comes to the design, it looks very similar to the previous and actual first generation of an iPhone, but you can see that the back was actually a little bit redesigned. We got a plastic housing which replaced the metal part of the backside of the iPhone 2G or the first iPhone. The buttons were also changed from plastic and now they are metal, and the edges of the phone were tapered, providing a better grip. It has a 3.5 inches big LCD display, and one thing I have to say that the viewing angles are just terrible on this device. This specific model in front of me was only the 8GB version, and back then you could even see it on the back side of the iPhone, you can see 8 gigs. But what's interesting about it is that the cheap LCD screen after all this time has some blank pixels, and let me open up something so you can see it properly. This thing right there, I mean, it's just really... These are just blown out pixels that don't work. The screen doesn't work in that area anymore. So yeah, this is something you have to count with. But again, this is an iPhone people will not use right now. This is like only for the purposes of collecting it or just having it on your shelf. What's interesting about it is that this is the first iPhone to ever run the App Store. If you remember back in the day, there was this huge ad campaign and everywhere you could see like there's an app for that, and there was at this time when the iPhone 3G got released, and at the time when the iPhones became so popular and developers started to produce and create apps. I mean, yeah, and also if you compare it to the previous first iPhone, there you couldn't even move. You didn't have 2 pages of apps because you didn't really need to. You couldn't move them around just like you can do it right here. As you can see, it doesn't work the way it should, but we're talking about 11-year-old iPhone. But as you know, like I said, it is stuck with the iOS 4, and until iOS 7 we had this really 3D design of icons and everything, and you know, it's kind of... people were used to playing with these iPhones, and even the iPhone 4, the iPhone 5 used to have this kind of operating system, and it was just really... some people would like to have it back, this kind of design, and this is probably the best thing about the iOS 6 or the older versions, the design, and people would like to go back from the flat design to something more looking like this. I mean, there are plenty of people that would really come back. A lot of people actually remember the YouTube logo and the YouTube app, which looks like a TV and it's kind of nostalgic, but if you open it up, it doesn't work anymore. You are not supposed to, or you won't be able to connect and play any video. I'm not even connected to the Wi-Fi, but whatever I do, it just always gets, I always get the pop-up telling me that it doesn't work and I'm supposed to go out of this app, so it does not work anymore. And yeah, but what we have is the 3.5mm headphone jack, and I know people don't really care about it, but iPhones used to have that and they don't anymore. I mean, we are familiar with this. I mean, if you just put it into perspective, just a couple of years, I mean, like a decade later, we have an iPhone with 3 camera lenses and 1 on the front, and this one has literally 1, which isn't even able to record a video. I mean, the progress is really there. The only thing you could do with this iPhone and the camera is to zoom in and out because of the support of multi-touch, of course, but you're not even able to click to focus. You don't have flash, obviously, you don't have anything like that. Like I said, you can't even choose anything. You don't have settings to turn on the grid, which isn't something that has to do something with the camera. I mean, this is solely something you could set up in the settings, but you can't. Like I said, I made some photos and I'm just gonna show them to you right now because I took the same photo on an iPhone 11 Pro and on the iPhone 3G. So for example, this is a photo that I took, but I have to tell you that I was using or holding the iPhone like this, and it automatically detected that I'm holding it upside down. So it took the photo upside down, but this is the same thing. For example, I made another photo. I mean, these are just random shots that I did. I mean, it's just like everyday life. If you just like to take a photo of something, what would it look like? Or for example, I mean, I have to say that it's not that sharp. Of course, the camera isn't that sharp on the iPhone 3G. Obviously, the display also sucks, so you can't really tell what it looks like. But I have to say that it still is pretty decent. Of course, it doesn't look good. It's not something you would be using in 2020, but considering the year 28, I mean, it was really a great thing. I mean, it was revolutionary camera and something you could put in your pocket. I mean, it was really interesting. And even if you compare it to the iPhone 11, of course, there's a huge difference in quality, but it's still pretty nice to see what was the iPhone 3G capable of. Obviously, the lens is a lot wider on the iPhone 11, and I took this photo with the classic lens, not with the ultra wide, obviously. And even though it's pretty much the main lens on the iPhone and on the iPhone 11, this one is a lot wider. So yeah, these are some of the things that I've noticed. When it comes to the colors, I can't really tell since the screen, the LCD, is a different thing when you compare it to an OLED display. So the display plays a huge role in this. What I love about the iPhone 3G is the design, of course, and the metal parts, the metal buttons sticking out of the black background. It just looks really dope. Of course, one of the legendary things was to slide to unlock, which sadly got removed with the arrival of iPhone 10, and now we only press the button to get inside. Not many changes happen when it comes to the internals and the camera if we compare it, of course, to the previous gen, because the camera was pretty much the same. I mean, it does not have optical zoom, flash, autofocus, or native video recording. Of course, it doesn't feature pretty much anything, but some apps, some third-party apps were able to use the camera to record the videos. And also the internals are pretty much the same. These internals are based on the previous iPhone. It still includes Samsung 32-bit ARM11 620 MHz processor. So it wasn't anything special, and like I said, 128 gigs of RAM, which actually tells you that it wasn't a really good phone. But back in the day, it had to be really fast. But yeah, even though it was an outstanding piece of tech, it's not, of course, suitable for using in 2020, but we still like to take a look back at the phones because iPhones had definitely changed the way we look at iPhones. Because the iPhone had definitely changed the way we look at phones and smartphones in general. So that's what iPhone has done to the society. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I kind of just wanted to make this video just because it's interesting to look back at it. Of course, I'm not reviewing any new products, but if you don't want to miss videos when I do, in which I try to focus on the latest tech, rumors, software releases, and everything Apple related, then you should hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well, and see you guys later in the next video. Peace out.